So Ethereum just made headlines again this week, guys, and the rotation of capital from Bitcoin into ETH continues here, and I don't think it's going to stop anytime soon. The institutions are finally buying Ethereum ETFs like they have been buying Bitcoin ETFs for a really long time, and for a while it was only Bitcoin. So what's changed? What's happened? What are we expecting to see here over the next few weeks and months with Ethereum? There are some crazy price predictions out there right now for ETH. We're hearing $10,000, $11,000, $12,000. I still think somewhere in the 7 to 10K range is probably safe. Right now we're pressing up right next to all-time highs. And what does this mean for the rest of the altcoin market as well? We're gonna get into all of that in the video. Make sure you guys hit the like button. Appreciate everybody rocking with me here. And hopefully you guys are having a good weekend. So a record-breaking 2.85 billion has just flowed into Ethereum ETFs this week. And institutions and investors are going all in on ETH right now, similar to how they've been going all in on Bitcoin since 20K. But I want to unpack exactly what's happening and what this means for Ethereum's future. So let's start by talking about this being the largest net inflow ever, a whopping 2.85 billion in inflows. And to put that in perspective, this surge has absolutely dwarfed previous records, and it shows that there's a clear shift right now between not just Bitcoin getting the institutional money, but also Ethereum. Now here's what's interesting. This capital really hasn't rotated away from Bitcoin into Ethereum like it usually does. Capital is still flowing into Bitcoin. People are just deploying more money to get Bitcoin and Ethereum. That is kind of an interesting, kind of a different spin this cycle opposed to last cycle, like back in 2020 and 2021. But, whether you're a seasoned crypto investor or just ETH curious, this is a game changer, because even if you don't hold Ethereum, this is massive for altcoins. Like, say you hold other things like Pepe or Uniswap, anything tied to Ethereum, Brett, Aave, like there's so many of these lending protocols, DeFi plays, meme coins, whatever your flavor is, that build off of ETH, right? Even assets like Chainlink, Ondo Finance, a lot of these connections between some of the RWA plays and Ethereum. This is going to bode extremely well. And I think as we get into more of a risk-on environment, hopefully when they cut interest rates here in September next month, we're going to see, I think, the top RWA plays, the top ISO compliant cryptos, right? And Ethereum's going to be leading that charge. We're going to see these assets move up in unison. And this cycle's so different than the last, right? Whereas like the institutions were kind of here, but like really low key, right? Like they weren't like public about it. Now they are, because things have changed. The regulatory environment, they can be. Like they can actually get in through ETFs, right? So this is an institutionally driven market, not so much retail. And so that means big money's flowing and pushing prices quicker than we've ever seen. And obviously we've had multiple Ethereum ETFs, which has sparked confidence in Ethereum over time. It took a little while for it to really get cooking, but big names like BlackRock, Fidelity, VanEck, they're pushing Ethereum ETFs hard. And then Tom Lee, a very influential person in the space, he comes in, when Ethereum was down there at like 2,800, he said, hey, the best play right now is ETH. Then the national media catches on. You guys know what happens. Then it's FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. Everybody's like, oh man, I gotta get me some ETH. And all of a sudden, Ethereum is nearing all-time highs. It happens quick. And the great thing is, like, we're not even in a full risk-on environment. And this is why I think we're going much higher than 5K. I'm definitely eyeing like 7K as kind of like that middle target for Ethereum right now. So some other things I wanted to kind of hit on, like before we get up on out of here. The one thing we saw with Ethereum that is different to this cycle than last, remember, Ethereum has moved from proof of work to proof of stake. So you can expect increased demand and reduced circulating supply because they are slowly burning Ethereum on every transaction. And this price appreciation could also accelerate, I think the rest of the altcoin market that's tied to ETH pretty rapidly because of the institutional interest. So honestly, it's a really good time, for crypto. If I'm looking at the overall space, I'm really not trying to overthink this too much, guys. Like, I think sometimes we get caught up in, you know, I've got to be thinking of something different than what the others are, like thinking like we can do it better. Honestly, like one of the best ways to win in crypto is just follow the institutional money, right? But it's not sexy. Like, people want to come up with their own plan and, like, you know, oh, they think, you know, I could do this. I'm self-made. I could do it on my own. Guys, the institutions are moving the market now. So front run them. Get in before they get in to the various assets, whether it's XRP. This is what we did with XRP. When everybody was fudding it, everybody was talking smack at 50 cents, we were buying it because we knew the institutions were coming. We knew Donald Trump, if he got in, would create more regulatory certainty around crypto. And it went from 50 cents to $3 in 5 weeks. Like, to me, that's not like a shocking thing. We knew it was going to happen if Trump got back in. So I'm very, you know, it sounds like it's like a very vanilla strategy, but it works in crypto. And I think people are always like, I always hear these obscure things like, oh, have you looked at, you know, such and such? I'm like, I haven't even heard of this thing. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, just focus on the main things, make that 70 to 80% of your portfolio. You know, we're talking obviously Bitcoin. You know, for me, I have a Bitcoin strategy that's separate than everything else. Like, buy Bitcoin, hold Bitcoin, separate 401k. All right, now let's talk about crypto, because Bitcoin's really not even crypto. Bitcoin is store value, digital gold. All right, now let's talk about crypto. Now what else do we want to do? All right, we've got Ethereum at the top. They already have an ETF. We probably should have some. XRP right there, the largest US-based company working in an area where they have no competition with cross-border payments. We should probably have some. Solana, the second biggest smart contract platform next to ETH. We should probably have some. And then just go down the line, right? And if you want to take your chances, like take your chances on things that are undervalued, like Algorand and Chainlink and HBAR, Avalanche. Like, these things are tried and true, they're solid, and they're way down from all-time highs. These are the things, in my opinion, that will pump when the rest of the market catches up with what we've seen out of Bitcoin and XRP. So I appreciate y'all for watching. Let me know your thoughts down below, and we'll see you guys in the next one.